Morning, Mr. K.
Yeah, good morning, Eric.
Morning.
Yeah,
Yeah, can you hear me clearly?
yes.
Can you hear
How
me
about you?
clearly? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, can. Yeah, okay.
okay.
So today we talk about uh the worst case thinking. Uh, do you know what is it? What does it mean?
Yeah, I think from the meaning literally, it is something like uh, we think of the best scenario that it can happen for maybe a
Yeah.
particular decision making or events.
Yeah, yeah, right. And actually this is uh the idea I want to have this topic and include this topic is actually come from one book, and the
Mhm.
book name is called Risk In. Actually have a Monday video review in the past and
Mm.
discuss about the risk intelligence. And yeah, this is also a book. And it's
Mm.
the same. The author is a speaker of the TED Talk. And then I
Oh,
watch, uh, uh, yeah, and then I read the book. This is this is a good book. Yeah, and so you can see the contents here is actually the worst case thinking in this book is actually are considered a bias, which is a bias that stop us to make a better decisions, to make us make a more rational decision.
mm.
Mm, yeah. So, but before I tell uh before you know this, do you think worst case scenario thinking is actually good or bad?
I think it has its pros and cons.
Mm,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
but if you ask me, um, if I can only choose good or bad, I think it is good. Yeah. The pros is more than cons.
Yeah. So yeah. So what is if you want to convince the people, if you want to convince the person that because your overall uh you think overall this is good, right?
Yeah.
Got it right. So why is it?
I think firstly, it can help us in decision making. Yeah, for this part, which is like uh, let's say we instead of just comparing costs and benefits, we try to see what will happen. Let's say if you are really unfortunate or you are really unlucky, then what can happen on you and whether you can manage the problems, you can handle it, whether you can, or even for bigger issues, whether you can survive, uh, even if it happens. Yep. So
Mm,
this is, I think, what it helps in decision making. And the second benefit is about I think it's stress management. Yeah, for something which uh, we're not certain, we're not so sure about, and then maybe we will have uncertainty in our mind. We will start worrying. Uh, yeah, if we have this kind of mindset, we try uh, to think what can happen in the worst case. Then in our mind we have something like a bottom line. We know what is the best the worst scenario, so it can kind of calm down ourselves instead of worrying for nothing, worrying for uncertainty. Yeah, we have something which is kind of like become more certain. Yeah, because at worst
mm,
this is it is it. Yeah, and then you won't feel so worried.
yeah. Could you give some example how give a case and then you study it to try to apply the worst case thinking on it?
Okay, just give a very simple one. Let's say today you are going for an interview. Let's say this is your first time to go interview, and then you feel really anxious, and also you don't know whether you have well prepared for the job, for the interview. What are you going to say?
Are you
Um,
driving your car?
sorry, what's that? Hello, hello.
Yeah. Are you driving your car?
No, why?
Me? Hello.
Yeah,
Hello. Can you hear me?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Uh, yeah. I said. Are you drive your car to the place?
Drive the car to the place. What do you mean? You mean in my
Mm,
example, in the interview?
yeah.
Um, what does it matter?
Uh, to that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Bad connection. Can you repeat again?
Yeah, because you risk yourself to that.
Um,
You risk your
okay.
life.
Oh, I
It's very
see.
common. It's very high percentage.
Mm, yeah, I think this isn't the point that we concern because
Mm. So this is a
what
worst case.
we want to use this concept to solve what? To solve the worries. The worries of you is because of the interview, not because of the transportation risk. Um, yeah, that is another case, I think. If you want to say worst case, which is the risk for you uh, in commuting to the place.
Mm.
Yeah. So right now we're trying to solve the mental stress. Yeah, we talk about
Mm.
interview because of this. We feel worrying. So yeah, the worst case here shouldn't be transportation accident. No, it should be something like, what is the worst case happen in the interview? Yeah, maybe just you are not accepted. Yeah, you didn't get a job. Yeah, this is the bad case, the worst case. Yeah, then by thinking in this way, you won't feel so worried, and then you will think like, oh, actually, if I fail this interview, I can apply for another, and before I apply, I actually have more experience if I attend more interview. Yeah, so just change a little bit of your thinking like this, the worst case, and actually you can kind of solve your mental stress a little bit.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
agree. For me, I
Yep.
have another example, and then you give me your opinion. Years
Mm-hmm.
ago, I asked to apply a house. Yeah, the story you have you heard it before, and then
Mm.
but I I'm not applying legally because my mother my mother friends had the in our country we call lobang, which is have some insight. Uh, 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 sh- uh, uh, my father
Insider.
friends.
Yeah.
So let me rephrase it. My
Mm.
mother friend's husband is actually the engineer and the head of a project, and
Yeah.
then he has the opportunity to get a house first and then help other clients. So he has the ins the yeah. So he has the opportunity. Yeah, he
Mm.
can he can do that. So for that, and to her friends, so her friend will help us to proceed the application.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a case. So how worst case thinking can apply here? How can it affect our decision making?
Yep. Is it a question for me?
Yeah, this is a question.
Okay. Yeah, the worst case here, I think, firstly, you fail to get your application. Second is maybe your these insiders, uh, this insider, yeah, this man work in that particular department, um, uh, couldn't make it and get caught by other people. Maybe other people discover his behaviors of this kind of doings. Then, yeah, I think that the worst case is maybe this guy will get some punishment. For example, being fired. Yeah, lost the job. Yeah, that's it for you. I don't think you will get any problems, and you're not the I believe that you're not the only one
Really?
who apply for the house in this way. Yeah, I think if he do that, he must have help many other people also. Yep.
Yeah. But if what does it matter? I'm not the only one. What does it matter? Is there any cause and effect? I will be okay if I'm not the only one. Is there any cause and effect here?
Well, what I want to say is this is I think this may be quite common uh, for them to do. Maybe every insider in there keep doing this kind of things. So the things is
Yeah.
too big, so they couldn't even like account somebody's for this issue.
Yeah, actually, it's not that big because this is just a small company, and even though the developer is just a small developer, if you consider the whole Malaysian market, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So this is my pushback.
Yeah. So actually, I don't think it is a big issue, or maybe I don't really know um, the the process or the any worst result that can happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe they
yeah, but
just like
okay,
because you pay. Do you pay any deposit to him?
no, yeah. Let me give you some example. For example,
Yeah.
if maybe you get caught and then you involve in this kind of illegal application, and then you may not able to apply a new house, a new government supported government assistance house in the future, maybe. And also maybe in the next time, your first house stamp duty can be exempted, right? Maybe the exemptions being removed. This is your punishment. Maybe you are in the blacklist. It could also be one of the example.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, let's assume that we know these kind of outcomes, which is possible outcomes, and I think, yeah, I'm sorry. This can also be included, which is like, even though this is worse, this is bad, this is not you want. But if this happened, can you handle it?
I will
Can
not
you
willing to risk this. Yeah.
will you be able to buy your next house if you get this kind of punishment?
Of course, you can buy a new house, but you need to pay a higher price. Maybe this is one of the possible outcome, right? But
Yep.
if you are in a blacklist and you can't buy a new house, then you will find hard to borrow money in futures.
Yeah. So yeah. So
You may
considering.
you may even not able to open a bank account if you are in a blacklist by your own.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. So it seems like the worst case thinking for this case, this encourage you to make to do it, right? So I think yeah. So if you don't do it, I think the this isn't a bad decision making. Yeah, even though right now you say you successfully get it uh, without any punishment or accident happens, but what if it happens? Yeah, so I think this is there are some lucky factors here. So even though you get it, it doesn't mean that it is a good decision.
How
Yeah.
about investment? You make investment every day, and then yeah, when you decided want to make an investment, how worst case thinking can apply here?
Okay, it can be applied when you decide how much money you want to put in to investments, put into a stock or any other type of investment. How much
So
money?
yeah, so what's the worst case?
Yeah, worst case is you lose all your money and
Mm,
you get nothing.
yeah. So how
Yeah,
can it apply here?
yeah, and if you get nothing, can you still live your life? Can you start all over again? Can you survive?
Yeah, you
Uh,
can. Of course you can.
yeah, yeah,
But you lose all your money. You will lose all your money. I mean, you have lost all the money you have put in. This is a very
yeah,
very very bad scenario because you need to start all over again.
yeah. And one more to consider, which is like, can you accept all your money? This much of money becomes zero. Is it kind of like how much you afford to lose? Is this the money that you afford to lose? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, nobody want to lose, but whether this is you afford to lose, you you can you can still accept it or still live your life, yeah, after this incident.
Yeah. So then to you, is it good for investment?
Yeah, in the aspect that I mentioned just now, I think it's good. Is
Allow you to
it's a
manage
must.
the risk, allow you to manage your risk better.
Yeah, especially for people like me, we have little investment knowledge, and this is the worst thinking concept here is not difficult to apply, and yeah, it's easier to understand and is I think useful, yeah,
Yeah.
practical.
Yeah, and when you and try to imagine nobody tell you want to do investment. Yeah, maybe I didn't tell you you should do investment. And would you do investment until now?
Um, yeah, I think I don't, I won't.
Yeah. Why? Why the reason? Maybe you think, oh, investment will lose money. So in that scenario, this is how the worst case scenario uh, comes into your mind. You think, yeah, investment, I don't have knowledge. And when I do the investment, I may lose money. So if I save at the bank, if I put the deposit, if I maybe I invest, let's say the mutual funds, or maybe let's say invest in the insurance saving policy, I can get stable and safe uh passive income, something like that. You won't have the thoughts want to do investment by your own. You won't,
Mm.
yeah, you won't do kind of like pick the stock or do the investment by your own. You would delegate you delegate it to professional, to the experts.
Yeah.
Even though you want to start the investment, even though you want to grow some of money. But another case is, if you don't start, you won't learn. You don't take actions, nothing will reinforce. Nothing will make you more conscious about it. Nothing will make you willing to learn more about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try to see. Actually, it's very easy. Yeah, because you learn investment, you learn the concept, and also you attend some course in college, right? This is so far, this is my knowledge. And until last year, when you really start to do investment, how many years? Around 3 years, or 3 to 4 years, is it? Yeah, if I'm not wrong, if I didn't count wrong, it's around 2 or 3 or 4 years. Yeah, and try to see how much knowledge you have learned in that period compared to a shorter period, which is the recent 1 to 1.5 years. The knowledge you have learned regarding investment, try to see, compare. one have longer period. Yeah. And I'm quite certain that you didn't learn much about investment because you didn't put your focus on it. And how about the recent 1 to 1.5 years? Because you have put your money, so that you don't want to lose your money, and then you will study more, you will learn more. Yeah, so that is also one of things that taking action allow you to skin in the game, and then you will start to learn more, start to try to make a better decision, so improve yourself. And it's not just investment. How about other things? Exercise. What's the worst case scenario?
Yeah, worst case, maybe I will hurt myself, get some injury, or maybe I got heart attack when I was playing something like badminton. Yeah. Maybe I can lose my life.
Yeah, and when you thought when I think about whether I want to go out jogging, running, and then the worst case scenario, and so far in my knowledge, I know it's bad for our knee, right?
Yep.
And in long term, even though you can do it long term, but it's bad for your knee and it's irreversible. Some people say it's irreversible, and somebody say doing too much the cardio. The cardio means
I know it. Cardio activities, right?
Yeah, cardio exercise, which is what is it called, the aerobic or something like that, which is in Chinese is called the 有氧.
Yeah, aerobic or what?
I think it's that one. Aerobic or aerobic. Yeah, and if you do too much of the cardio, and then it actually is not good for your body. Yeah, and you may lose muscle or something like that. Yeah. The compared to like you lift the weight. Yeah. You do the anaerobic exercise. Yeah. I'm aware of this. Then so how worst case thinking can apply here? Yeah, it's bad for my knee, right? So I better not going out to do exercise. How about when changing a job? Yeah, how about when you have to change a job?
Yeah.
What's the worst case?
Yeah, I couldn't find one for a long time. Yeah.
And maybe no, the worst case actually is you find one, and then you apply, and then they accept you, and then you change it. But in the first month you couldn't adapt it, and then this is not what you want, and company also don't want you, and then you lose
Yeah.
your job.
Yeah.
And then you have to find a next one, and then at that time you are unemployed. So if you I mean a picking example here is quite important. Interview, actually most of people, when they want to find job, they will send tons and tons of resume to the employer, right? And they'll try every opportunity to get a chance to go to interview.
Yeah.
And is it important? Is this an important thing for us, right? Yeah, I agree, it's important. Interview is also quite important. This is the tickets, like the tickets allow you to entry the company. But how about other things? How about something in your life that you're struggling? You are struggling to make a decision. Just like what I said just now, changing a job. Yeah, break up, divorce. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to got something from the points from your few examples here. Which is like when we have the worst case thinking in our mind, we maybe stop taking action or not making the decision without really thinking further or deeper.
Yeah.
Or without trying without even trying taking action. We stop from just in the thinking process. We stop there.
And you are right. And worst case thinking is a bias. What bias means? Bias means that because you have your preference, because of the environment shape you, so, and also maybe because of knowledge, because of what you have learned, what you have taught, you have some certain belief on something that you think is bad, that you think you don't like.
Yeah.
And when something you don't like, and then something you have no incentive to do it, plus the worst case scenario. Yeah, plus the worst case scenario. It can really stop you taking action. Something you're not familiar. Yeah, plus the worst case scenario. It can stop you to take action. But something already in your mind, and then you know you are going to do it. For example, you already know reading book is so good for you because you have reaped the benefit from it. You have got a lot of benefit from it because you have changed your habit. Yeah, initially you don't like read book, and now you read a lot of book. You see the changes. How worst case scenario can kick in? Because you know the worst case is much the consequence of the worst case is much insignificant because you have reaped all the benefits. But what if something you're not familiar? Now, a person, he or she just graduate, and maybe his or her academic result is terrible, okay? And he let's say he don't like to read. He also don't have any habit that read the book. Yeah. And now if you allow him to choose whether want to go study further or whether want to just go out to work, yeah, what he may choose, how worst case scenario can affect here. And also, let's say if he choose to work, then yeah, because maybe it's a manual work, this is a low level work. I mean, at the low hierarchies in the social status, and then he couldn't earn a lot, and also we can also foresee in long term he will be terrible. His life will be very terrible if he didn't continue to learn. And then you suggest him to read book, to try to learn some skill. How worst case thinking can kick in their mind, can kick in his mind, what he will think. I couldn't do well. Yeah, learn so much is not I'm not the type of person can learn things.
Mm. Yeah.
And I would just waste money. I would just waste time. I better spend my time on resting, so I can have more energy to work. Or I can spend my time on entertainment. I become happier. I have the motivation to work. I better spend my time to do OT, to work more, so I can earn more money. Yeah, the bias here doesn't mean that it will affect every of your decision, and it actually make no changes on something that you already very certain. Yeah, you already know this is something that you have to do, and then you must do, and then and also you want to do. For example, another example.
Yeah.
Let's say also the person, his parents ask him to go to college, to go to university. Why? Because his parents know when he just directly go out to work, and then he will earn a low income, and then he will learn nothing, and in long term it will be terrible. So he better go to the university and then study more, get a diploma, get a degree, so he may have a better future. This is also a worst case scenario, because you know how education is so important, so you try to avoid the worst case. You send your child to the college, to the university, and don't want to let them fall behind other people at the same age. You want to keep their competitive level, competitiveness. So they learn, they go to study, they go to college. You spend a lot of money. They also spend a lot of time. The children also spend a lot of time. Wouldn't it is also a bias, a worst case thinking here?
Yep.
Yeah. So, it may not affect every of the decision, but it may affect a lot of many of your critical decisions. This is the point I want to bring out. Yeah, and you don't know which decision will be affected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any pushback or any thought on this?
Okay, I think even though worst case thinking can affect us sometimes in a negative way, and sometimes prevent us to take action or try it or think deeper, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't take into account the worst case.
Yeah, you should take in. Yeah, you should consider worst case. You also should consider the bad case. You also can consider the good case, the best case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the problem here isn't having worst case thinking. The problem here is maybe haven't tried enough or haven't thought deep enough, and then haven't even tried.
How do you know? Okay, first thing is, how do you know whether you have think enough? If you keep telling yourself you haven't think enough, wouldn't it just be a procrastination? Yeah, it may let me finish first. Yeah, it may be the second or the second consequences of the worst case thinking, if you want to say like this. Yeah, and another is, yeah, you say you haven't tried, but our time is limited. How can we try everything?
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your thought?
Yeah, I think it is a kind of like a double-edged sword.
Yes, yeah. It's a double edge.
Yeah, you couldn't like always make decision without thinking the worst case or without taking consideration of the worst case.
Yeah,
It will be
and we always
risky.
we always do that. We always think about the worst case. We always think about what will happen. Do we able to handle it? And if you just focus on the bright side, and it's another bias. Could be I'm not sure what the I don't know what the bias call, but just like you are doing
Could
the
it be
investment.
overconfident?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, you are right. Exactly. It's overconfidence. Yeah, overconfidence. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So try to think in this way. Overconfident is not good, but confident is good. And over pessimist is not good, but pessimist a little is good, right?
Yeah.
And what are you doing when you are thinking the worst case and doing what will happen to you? Have you considered about the probabilities?
I think more or less. This is like subconsciously, but maybe I don't really think of that probability, but it seems like it's something included in the process of thinking.
Yeah, but subconsciously, does it mean that you you didn't take over the control to like try to make a rational decision? Just like few of the example I make just now, change a job. Do you really sit down and consider the cost and benefits? Yeah, when you're making a critical decision, when you are thinking whether you have to do investment or not, do you really sit down and think? Yeah. For example, when I choose to go to another country to work, do I sit down and really think carefully what's the cost and benefits to me?
Yeah.
Or I just use my subconscious to make the decision subjectively? Even though you try to make the decision consciously, you try to use your system to make decision, it will also subjective. The decision made is also subjective. But at least it's through your thought process. Yeah, you really think about it. You didn't like use a feeling, use an emotion, use what you have experienced in the past and make the decision, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think probability is very important here. You need to assign the probability on the worst case. Yeah, for example, when I want to go to an event, go to a seminar, when I analyze the cost and benefit, I will analyze, okay, I need to drive my car to there, so I have the risk. I'm risking my life. Yeah, something may happen, car accident may happen, and even though I don't die in the car accident, my car broken, my car being damaged and need to repair, and I need to spend some money, and I need to spend a lot of time on doing those things. And plus, maybe the seminar didn't provide me a lot of value. It's just the seminar want me to subscribe their formal course. They
Yeah,
also
they
want
are
to earn money.
promoting something, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can have a lot of consideration, and also you may think that if I go there and they sure will use some marketing technique, use some psychology technique to try to convince me to buy the thing, I sure I will be affected, even though at the end I still want to buy their product, but I will be affected, and it will kind of like take some of my space in my mind, in my brain. And even though after 1 day, after 2 days, after 5 days, after 1 week, I will still keep thinking about it.
Yeah.
And they may say something like let's say, for example, like the people who will success is those people, they will grab the opportunity, and it kind of like indicate and it kind of like imply that if I don't subscribe their formal course, I'm not grabbing the opportunity, and then I'm not going to success. Yeah. So it's in my mind, and if it affect me, it's so annoying.
Yep.
Yeah, I can use all of these cost and benefit analysis to do it and try to increase the mental cost drastically, and then so that I'm not going to attend the seminar. But the opposite way, I also can increase my mental benefit a lot. So I go to the seminar. Yeah. So you can see how worst case, and also how let's say like the overconfidence it's like the double edge.
Yeah.
And so that you still need to assign a probability on it. And then so you can make a better judgment. But the whole calculation become more complex. Totally agree. Everybody will agree that.
Yeah.
And also, you go ahead first.
Actually, I want to ask the previous example that you gave in this conversation, which is like your decision to apply for the house. Yeah, can we assign probability this consideration here, and how it will affect the decision making?
Okay, this is something like you have to study more, you have to learn more, and then you know the politics system in Malaysia, and then you know that you're not going to get all those consequences actually, and the probability is very, 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 very low.
It seems like no previous cases, right?
This is a survival bias. Okay, you shouldn't think like this, right? And then you try to avoid a bias, and then you fall into another bias. And then this is a fact, because in our country we don't have that strong enforcement to govern the thing, and also including this area, which is house education, all those things. And let the game theory kicks in, the developer will try to keep it, will try to hide this information, and the engineer, which is my mother friend's husband, will also try to hide it. And if really being audited, and he'll just wipe out all the information. And the developer can say, oh, I send you the wrong letter. I send you the wrong letter offer. Yeah, I do it wrong. Yeah, and this is we have some technical error, something like that. Yeah, so here is because human can think, human can act, and when you think other people will do something on you, or you think when you do something on other people and then you'll get a benefit, but do you really think how people react? If you hurt them, they may adjust their behavior and then let you couldn't exploit the benefit from them, or they want to fight with you. Yeah, so it's also another bias, which is a status. I think it's called static. Static means that this is something like fixed. Yeah. For example, a water stay in the container, is it fixed and didn't move, didn't flow. But dynamic is the opposite of the static, which is something will change, and your actions can change other people's actions. Yeah, and also apply the house, and then the house is cheap. Even though the probability of getting a house maybe SIE quite low, but because the cost is also very low, the probability is so low, and then how do you give a subjective value on that? How much you will lose if you really get all the things? And compare with maybe you get your house, yeah, and then the house may rise its value in future, and because you also need to consider the compound interest. But at the same time, you also need to think that if you really let's say included in the blacklist, then maybe you couldn't borrow money on all that, and then you also may lose some chance to do investment or do something by real estate, and then you also lose a chance to exploit the compound interest benefit. But do you have other methods? Yeah, can you invest in other stock markets? Can you delegate other people to? Can you use your partners, your girlfriends, your partners' accounts to do investment? And then you hold the password. You have a lot of things can do. Yeah. So even though the worst case is not the really worst case, because you still can react, you will react to that. Even though you are included in blacklist, you can use your brother, your sibling, your mother, your father account to make investment.
Yep.
Or you can join the account. Now, when you join the account, then you can do the investment. Then you can open a bank account. All of these things. It's not the end of the world. My mother still have this. My mother still have a bank account, but she have to open a bank account jointly with other people. But it's not the end of the world. If you couldn't open a bank account, if you couldn't open your solely own bank account. Yeah. So you see, if you keep analyze further, the worst case maybe is still not the worst case, And also, the worst case is not that bad actually. It's not that worse.
Yep. Sometimes it's just we couldn't accept the case, so we didn't really think any solution to that. Sometimes we have to accept the truth, the fact first, the things that happen on you first, then you will have your attention to figure out solutions.
And one another cause of this worst case thinking, in my opinion, is risk avoid. You become a risk avoider. You try to avoid the risk. You know, in human life, in our life, if someone keep avoid the risk, they are not going to success. This is true. If you keep avoiding the risk, you are not going to success. Yeah.
Mm.
I can give ton and ton of example. For example, one, if you don't start doing investment, you are not going to be rich if you are not a businessman. And businessman also taking risk, right? Businessman also is kind of like invest in his business. He's also a shareholder. And if you are a businessman, but you didn't hold any equity, if you didn't hold any stake of the shares, yeah, and you are just employee, right? And you're
Yep.
still not going to be rich.
Mm.
Because your output is like related to what you have spent. I mean, including your time, the energy, the shareholder, the company can find another one to replace you.
Yep.
And then if you can work really, really hard. And yeah, you can work really, really hard, but the benefits you get is matched to your time. You are using your time to earn money. You are using your energy to earn money. Yeah, of course. But how about if you are the investor, if you are the real businessman, the entrepreneur, you own the equity. You also work hard, but the output can be exponentially grow. And then you own the benefits, you own the rewards, you own the fruits you have grown. Just like, for example, you are a farmer and it's not your land, and you help people to do farming and then they pay you the salary. You do all the job and then you grow all the trees.
Mm.
You grow all the fruits, but those fruit is not your fruits. You will earn the income, a fixed income, but you are not going to get all the fruits. Yeah.
Mm.
But the people who hire you, the people who own the land, who invest in the seeds, yeah, they also need to find the customer to buy their fruits.
Yeah.
They take a risk,
Mm.
and then there are opportunities. Not the output. The input is you. The input is the land. The input is the capital.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the output can be drastically more than the inputs. It also can significantly lower. It also can greatly lower than his input. Yeah, so he take a risk. And then here not only using his time, his energy to make money. He tried to find the thing to leverage what he has, what he has, and then so that he can get the input, so that they can get the output. The output is not matched with the input. You want to find this kind of thing. You want to leverage. If you want to get rich, you want to maybe success in your industry, you need to find way to leverage yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is a risk avoider. Yeah. And talk about, okay, one of the benefit is, yeah, it can reduce the bias. It can reduce the overconfident bias because you look at the opposite, right? Yeah,
Yep.
but and also one of the benefit of overconfidence is also avoid the worst case scenario. It's also reduce the bias of worst case scenario, worst case thinking. Yeah, so you need to find the balance. Yeah. And
Yep.
also when you make decision, you need to think in three of the things. For example, you need to think the cost and benefits. This is the first thing. You need to think about the probabilities.
Yeah.
You also need to think about the size of reward, and also the size of the risk, the cost. Yeah. For example, you do something. Let's say you make an investment. It may grow 100 times, but you may lose all your money. And you think that, let's say you think there is a 90% you lose all your money, and let's say got 1% it will eventually rise 100 times, and the remaining 9% it will remain the price at the current price.
Yeah.
Yeah. But of course it's a judgment. Yeah. And yeah, to make a better decision, of course you need to improve your judgment. But this is the tools. This is some tools allow you to apply your judgment more objectively, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's better than just use your subconscious to overconfident make a decision, or worst case thinking to make a decision. Yeah. And when you assign the probability, okay, 1%, you will get 100 times. So it's around 1. Okay, and then also 9%, the price will remain unchanged. So you use 9% times x, right? Then you get 0.09x plus initially the 1x, which is 1% times 100 times. So you got 1.09x, right?
Yeah.
Are you catching up?
Yes.
Yeah, and then the remaining 90%, you got 0 because you lose all the money. So it's 0. 0 times whatever number will be 0. So 0 times x will be 0. So at the end, the expected value will be 1.09. So 1.09 means that if you try to use this kind of perspective to think about your investments, there is a positive expected value, which you will earn the current price. The current price is undervalued 9% from its fair price. Yeah. So you not only need to think about the cost and benefit, you also need to think about the probability. You also need to think about the size of reward and the cost and benefit. And also, last thing is understand. You really need to understand the risk, understand the benefits. What it really means to you. You can risk your life to earn $1 trillion, but $1 trillion is exactly the same benefits as $1 billion or $1 million. Why you want to risk your life to earn $1 trillion? But you just need to risk a fractions to earn $1 million or earn $1 billion. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So understand really what you want, and also understand and think. Really understand is improve your judgment. It's the only way to improve the judgment. Yeah. For example, when I make an investment, normally what will you think? Okay, now I invest in this. You do a lot of analysis, right? Normally you will think, and then we will say, okay, at the end, the worst case is I will lose all my money. Yeah, and then, but how do you assign the case? What is the case you will lose all your money? What will happen? What the company will look like, and then in what situation will make it into this scenario? You need to understand so that you can make a better judgment. You couldn't say just okay. You couldn't say now I make this investment and then I aware that I may lose all my money. Yeah, so I better put 100 enough because I couldn't risk so much. If Yeah, if I may lose all my money, but you didn't consider the money losing. Yeah, first is what's the probability? People will say okay 50% because they just look at the they just look at the literal, they just look at the surface. Yeah, you may have some chance to lose all your money, of course, but what is the case, what is the situation will make you really lose all your money? You need to understand and then assign the probability of each of the scenario, and then really camps out, aggregate, yeah, find out, accumulate the risk, accumulate percentage. What is really the risk that you will lose all your money, right? You couldn't just say, okay, I may lose all my money, so I need to be careful. But my question is, what case will make you lose all your money? What need to be happen? And what is the probability the things will happen, the case will happen, right?
Yeah. So in short, it is like if we use our feeling to judge things, whether to judge something, then that isn't so good compared to if we can try to find out what is the maybe cause and effects, right? What things cause the things that you first imagine.
Yeah. Of course, you couldn't be objectively correct. Yeah, you couldn't 100% correct, but you can improve the judgment. You can improve the decision making, the quality of the decision making.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is what I want to discuss about you.
Yeah, and maybe a little bit more, which is I think worst case thinking is really like a bias. If we assign too much weight on worst case thinking in decision making, then it will be a problem. It is just like a part of a very comprehensive decision making process, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
That's
you
all
want?
what I want to say.
Okay. Yeah. So talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah. Talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Bye.